It's 2020, and Tite Kubo's finest work has officially arrived. Burn the Witch, Chapter 1. Or we could actually clarify this as Burn the Witch, Chapter 2, because of the one-shot. So before I begin talking about the chapter that was released this week in Weekly Shonen Jump, yes, there is a one-shot to Burn the Witch that came out in 2018, a few years ago, and it actually is the first introduction to Burn the Witch, and the content we got this week is a continuation of that said content. So if you're thinking the one-shot is completely disconnected and you do not need to read it, you would be sadly mistaken. In fact, it gives a lot of clarification to Dragonclad and Bogo and all of that, and kind of reverse London in the one-shot that you didn't actually get in the first chapter. Now, the first chapter did kind of cover some things that was already clarified in the one-shot, but like I said, in terms of story content, the one-shot is definitely a prologue and gives a lot of clarification to some of the circumstances going on within the first chapter. So, if you have yet to actually read the one-shot and you really liked what you saw from the first chapter of the series that, came out this week, then like I said, take some time out of your day and go read the one-shot. It's really good, and it's nice to see just, Tite Kubo back again and writing something. So, Burn the Witch. It's a series that I kind of have been aware of for a few years now. I never actually went out of my way to read the one-shot until earlier this week when the first chapter came out, which is honestly kind of sad I haven't, because reading the first chapter and the one-shot, it reminded me of just why I really appreciated Bleach and why I really love just Tite Kubo's art. He's really talented, and when you just take a look at the one-shot and then see the improvement of art in the first chapter that came out this week, you're just reminded, holy crap, Tite Kubo really is good at designing characters, designing just clothing, just everything about his artwork is just breathtaking, and it's just something that people don't typically really appreciate much, I think. They don't really go out of their way and just holy crap, Bleach is a really incredible series. It looks amazing. And when you see Burn the Witch, you can just see that the skill that Kubo had for that series was brought into Burn the Witch, and he even went beyond what he did in Bleach. Now, obviously, when it comes to Tite Kubo's art, it's always been a meme within the community, the manga community, that he doesn't know how to draw backgrounds. It's the common thing you kind of see that people mention when it comes to his artwork, but actually, when you see Burn the Witch Chapter 1 in also the one-shot, there is quite a few backgrounds. It seems like Tite Kubo isn't just having solid white backgrounds, he is definitely drawing backgrounds and great character design, so it's definitely a nice thing to see that, people can't come in and just start memeing the crap out of Burn the Witch, oh, Tite Kubo can't draw backgrounds, but it's very stunning. In terms of artwork, I would have to say it is the best artwork, one of the best pieces of artwork in Weekly Shonen Jump, in my personal opinion, obviously, but I find Tite Kubo's art very pleasing to the eyes, and it's just a very unique design in comparison to everything else that you would see in the magazine. Yes, even more so than My Hero Academia, even though it has a reminiscent art style to comics from America, I do think that Kubo's designs are just very different. But okay, Burn the Witch, Chapter 1. I will say that in terms of presentation, Tite Kubo has not lost it. It's definitely fascinating to see kind of the lore of the story and finding out a little bit more about Reverse London and actually how this ties in with the Bleach universe. And yes, you heard me. Apparently, Tite Kubo in 2018 or 2019 went out of his way to clarify that Burn the Witch is actually set in the same universe as Bleach. Now, I don't necessarily know how they're completely connected because, let's be honest here, Bleach never really kind of explained what happened in the other parts of the world. We don't know anything about the West, etc. And we do know that apparently early on in the Bleach's manga, Rukia did mention that there was a different branch, that she was a part of the eastern branch of the Soul Society, and most likely what we're currently seeing with, Reverse London is the western branch of Soul Society, which it still makes me wonder why we never actually saw the involvement of this branch of Soul Society at the end of Bleach with Joha Bach and all that, which I hope that, Burn the Witch does clarify, but I'll talk about more of that in a moment. But the point is from what I heard, this series is connected to Bleach in some way or shape or form, and you can kind of see that, especially with the magic spells or the incantations that was used throughout the first chapter and the one-shot. When you see them casting these different spells and the numbers, it reminded me a lot of, Kido, or Hado, I believe that's what it was called. The magic spells that you saw Aizen in them use continuously throughout Bleach? It kind of reminded me of that. The different spells you saw throughout these first 2 chapters was very reminiscent of that. I was just like, holy crap, like they're even numbered, they're different spells. I'm like, it's very apparent that they're connected to what happened within Bleach. So the power system is most likely very similar. However, there is no swords. So far, I don't see any type of swords, I don't see any Zanpakutos, nothing like that. So, it most likely will just be straight up like using magic and stuff, which I'm all for. I always felt like when it came to Bleach that it was just highly underutilized, like Hado and Kido and all that. I always felt like it's like, just was not used enough. I always enjoyed when Aizen used it, and I always felt like I wish it was used more, because it was just so unique, and it was not really expanded upon. Maybe the light novels expanded upon it, but I just felt like when it came to the manga, it never was dived into too deeply. It was never really shown that much, and I'm glad to see that maybe we're going to have a series entirely focused on that. I'm all for that. I truly am excited to see what Tite Kubo actually comes up with. Which, by the way, to kind of clarify, this is a limited series. So, what I mean by that is that apparently it's not going to be going on for like a very long time. It's probably going to have maybe 10 chapters, maybe 15 chapters, but it's definitely not going to get into like 50 to 100 plus chapters. Now, there is a possibility that maybe one day it might, if this gains a lot of popularity, the fan base grows huge, the anime is successful, and yes, you heard me, apparently it is getting an anime, and the anime is going to be coming out very soon, actually, this year. I'm excited for it. Can't wait to watch and see actually just once again something very similar to Bleach, Tite Kubo's work, animated again. That's excitement. Now, when it comes to the actual story of Burn the Witch, it feels like Reverse London, even if it is the western branch of Soul Society, it doesn't really feel like they're on the same level as, let's say, the stuff that happens within Bleach's main story, because the Black Dragons that are kind of the main threat of the story don't seem to necessarily be that strong. Now, when it comes to typical shonen, you're not going to have the strongest enemies introduced right at the start. They'll slowly get incorporated as the story continues, and we're introduced to the weak fodder early on in the story. So, we don't really have a good scale on kind of just how strong these Black Dragons are. However, just from the first glimpses of the enemy of the series it just doesn't seem like they're necessarily anything crazy, because you have someone like Nini and also Noelle that are kind of lower ranking witches that are somehow able to pretty much completely deal with Black Dragons with not much effort whatsoever. Now, they obviously might be very gifted, very powerful, definitely elites among witches, but I highly doubt with the first chapter they're that strong. Like, they're up there with the top tier levels, because they would definitely be given a higher promotion if they were, because that is exactly what Nini wants badly, which I'll talk more about the characters in a moment. But when it comes to actually just the Black Dragon threat, they don't seem to be that strong, and it seems like I said, Western Soul Society Reverse Longden is definitely much weaker in comparison to the Bleach Soul Society, which kind of explains maybe why they never kind of interfered with what was going on with Aizen and what was going on with Yuha Bach. It makes actually perfect sense when you think about it, because leave it up to the main powerhouses that have like Zanpakutos and all of that are able to actually fight those type of threats, that level of threat, and just leave the Black Dragons in lower forms to, the witches and wizards. But anyways, let's talk about the characters. So Nini and Noelle. They are 2 female characters that, honestly, I'm very happy to see as main characters. Like, when it comes to a lot of shonen nowadays, you don't typically have a lot of female character leads, and most female characters in shonen are poorly written. I'm just going to be honest here. Now, there is oftentimes you will encounter a good female character in Weekly Shonen Jump, but it's very rare. It's very rare to just see a really, really good, strong female lead character that isn't annoying and gets a lot of development, and you could really just sit back and like, man, that's a good character. And it seems like Tite Kubo really wanted to focus on 2 female characters being his main leads, and I appreciate that, because, it's very different from how he handled, let's say, Orihime in Bleach. Now, I'm not going to really stir up anything, because I know people like Orihime, but I was never really a big fan of where her character was, how underutilized it was, and just seeing, you know, how Nini and Noelle are actually the main focus, and they have really good development so far, characterization. I'm all for it, and I am very interested to see two female characters leading the charge of the story. However, there is a main male character of the story called Bogo, which is a dragon-clad, and most of the plot kind of revolves around him, honestly, in terms of the conflict, and I'll get into that in just a second. But when it comes to the characters, though, they're very likable, very unique designs, and it just goes to show that Tite Kubo really hasn't lost his touch with really making characters stand out with their design. So, Bogo, as a character. Bogo is a dragon-clad, and when I mean dragon-clad, he is someone that was kind of given toxicity from being around a black dragon, and that's, like I said, the main threat of this world. Bogo was around one of his friends that was deceased and was possessed by a dragon, eventually forming into a black dragon because he was around a human for so long, which resulted in him gaining toxicity, Bogo gaining toxicity, and becoming a dragon-clad. Now, apparently, this is not normally supposed to happen, because if you are a human, you're actually completely supposed to be disconnected from all supernatural. You're not supposed to be around, let's say, dragons, etc. You're supposed to, you know, keep a distance. You're not supposed to see them either. And basically, you have Bogo that is in a very unique circumstance, because he had a friend that was a dragon, he had no idea, he got bit by a dragon, which resulted in becoming a dragon-clad. His toxicity reached over a certain level, which resulted in being what he is now. But normally, if you come in contact with a dragon or a being of supernatural origin, you either are imprisoned for 100 years or you're executed. In this case, obviously, neither is going to happen because he became a dragon-clad and now he's under certain level of protection. And so that's where Nini and also Noelle comes in. They have to actually protect Bogo, which is a dragon-clad, because apparently he is someone that attracts the supernatural. He attracts, you know, black dragons, and that is the main objective. They have to protect him. And at the end of the first chapter that came out this week, you have this council, which I'm assuming is the main head honchos of the, you know, Western Soul Society, that is determining the fate of Bogo, and they're like, this hasn't happened in 1,000 years, or 100 years, my bad, not 1,000 years, 100 years, a black dragon appearing within Reverse London. It's obviously all this dragon-clad's fault. We need to get completely rid of him. And so you have it at the end of the chapter, they're like, yeah, let's order the removal and the extermination of, you know, the dragon-clad Bogo, and this is going to obviously lead to a lot of conflict for Nini and Noelle because they have a history with this dude, and they're probably not going to want to see him die. So this is definitely reminiscent of the Soul Society arc with retrieving Rukia at the beginning of Bleach, which honestly is known for being one of the better arcs, or one of the best arcs of Bleach in its entirety. So seeing an arc that is very reminiscent to that, I'm automatically all for. I'm happy to see it. I can't wait to see where it's going to go. But in terms of the plot, it's very basic, but it's unique. It definitely follows a formula that Bleach was known for, but it does mix it up in a way that keeps it very unique. But overall, that's pretty much about it when it comes to Burn the Witch. It's a fantastic new series. I do hope that this series does really well. It gains a lot of popularity, and it's actually able to reach success. That the anime that comes out in like a month or two is also very successful, and it gets really well known, which results in maybe getting a continuation of Burn the Witch. I would be all for it. I would love to see this series become something even greater than it is. And also, one last thing to clarify before I wrap up this video. Some of you might be wondering, do you actually need to read Bleach to appreciate this? I don't think so. I don't think you need to read Bleach to appreciate Burn the Witch. It's connected in universe, but it seems to be its own thing entirely. So if you're worried that you need to sit down and read Bleach or watch the anime, it doesn't seem like you need to. So do not freak out, do not worry. You could start this series without worry whatsoever about that. But anyways, I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, Chibi out.